Hello YouTube and welcome to Shy 3D.
What's up? What's up?
I'm Shy and today I'm going to teach you some fundamental things about Blender that you need to know before you get started with your very first project. Hopefully it works, and hopefully by the end of this video you learn something. If not, I failed at life. So here we go. So in case you're very new, let's get started by actually downloading Blender. Type in blender.org. On this page you can click this blue download button here or the download tab at the top. It'll take you to this page, and here you can select what operating system and version that you would like to download. For this video, I'm using Blender 2.82. Lamp by left-clicking on each of those objects and pressing the X key on the keyboard. If you like to save a little bit of time when clicking, you can always select one object, hold the Shift key, and then select the other object or objects. Shift allows you to select more than one object or parts of the mesh, and or even remove certain selections from the overall selection, which is pretty useful. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the view in the 3D viewport. You can change the view by hovering over the 3D viewport with your mouse and pressing 1 on the numpad for front view, 3 for side view, 7 for top view, and 9 will flip your view. So if you press 9, front becomes back, side shows the opposite side, and top shows bottom. So now that your 3D view is clear of those things, let's click on the default cube. In this video, we're going to learn 3 keyboard shortcuts for fundamental Blender actions. We're going to learn how to use the S key for scale, the G key for grab, and the R key for rotate. And what we talk about in one can apply to all other actions as well. Any action you do involving your 3D objects or mesh, geometry, whatever you want to call it, has to be done while your mouse is hovering over your 3D viewport. If my mouse is not in the 3D viewport, these keyboard shortcuts could do something else depending on what window it's hovering over. Alright, so let's make sure your cube is selected, and if it's not, just left click on it to select it. First things first, we're going to learn how to use the S key to scale the object. With your mouse somewhere over the 3D viewport, and with your cube selected, press the S key on your keyboard. Now watch what happens when you move your mouse. Bringing your mouse inward towards the origin point of your cube will shrink the cube, and pulling your mouse away from the cube's origin will increase its scale. You can scale this way if you like, or you can do it another way depending on how precise you want to be with your scaling. The way you can manipulate your scales are simply moving your mouse, holding Control while moving your mouse, or manually typing in a numerical value you wish to scale your object by on the numpad. Okie dokie. So, let's try each of these out real quick. With the default cube selected, press the S key to scale, then try moving your mouse around. After you played around with that for a bit, do it again. While your cube is still selected, press the S key again and scale the cube. But this time, hold Control and notice how it snaps the scaling in increments. This is because if you look closely in the background of Blender, there's a faint grid. These are called Blender units. Holding Control will snap your action to those Blender units. And again, with the cube selected, press the S key and scale the cube. However, this time, I want you to not touch your mouse at all. After you press the S key to scale, over on your numpad, I want you to press any number you want. For my example, I'm going to press 2 on the numpad and scale my cube by 2. This means it's twice its original size. You can scale anything this way by typing in the value you want it multiplied by on your numpad. And I'll show you what that means in our next video on primitive shapes. Lastly, on scaling, if I press S to scale, I can then press the key that correlates with the axis I wish to scale it by. So if I wanted my cube to be scaled along the X-axis, I would press the S key to scale, then the X key to tell Blender that I want it scaled on the X-axis, then freely scale it however much I want using the mouse, controlling the scale by holding Control and using the mouse, or manually typing in the scale on my numpad. Okay, so now that we know that S is for scale, and it also makes things bigger or smaller, now we need to learn the last two. If you're not sick of hearing it by now, the last two we need to learn is G key for grab and the R key for rotate. They work in the exact same way as the scaling feature. So let's look at these two keys and see what they do. With my cube selected, if I press G to grab my cube, you can see I'm able to freely move around my 3D object in 3D space. Now, how can we relate that back to using the scale feature? While moving your cube with the grab feature, try doing some of the same things we did with the scale feature. If I press G for grab, I can press the key on the axis I wish to move it on as well. I can hold Control to move it in increments, and I can also manually type in my movement using my numpad. For example, I can press the G key to grab on the X axis, and then on my numpad I can type in 2. This will move my cube 2 Blender units on the X axis. Play around by exercising with the G key for grab, the same way as we did with the S key for scale. And when you're comfortable with that, we're pretty much done. We're going to apply the same logic we used with the first two to the last one, which is R for rotate. Okay, so now it's R for rotate. With the cube selected, press the R key to rotate your object. Whenever you rotate it this way, it rotates the object based off of the view. And with the cube selected, if you press the R key and then the R key again, you can go into a free rotation mode, which can be pretty cool. Play around with the rotation feature just as you did with the others. Try rotating it on an axis, controlling how much you rotate it by holding down Control to snap it to the increments, or manually type in how much you want to rotate your object by using the keypad. Alrighty, and with that we have officially learned the most important tools to use in Blender effectively, and hopefully it'll make the learning curve a little bit easier. In my next video we will be starting a series that I believe needs to be covered by every new 3D artist, and that is modeling primitive objects. We're going to learn how these primitive objects were made and how to make them so we have a better understanding of the construction of the mesh. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that it was not too long. I think it's probably sitting around the 10-minute mark, maybe. I don't know. Before I go, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed my content. Comment down below with any kind of ideas that you have for videos or things that you would like me to cover. If you enjoy the content enough, you could probably even subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to ring the bell. Thanks for watching and have a good one.